Hey everybody! Join me as we begin an in-depth analysis of the original Masters of the Universe toy storyline today on Weird Fantastic Toy Adventures. Before we begin, we need a little bit of background information. Now, I'm not going to go into a whole lot of detail. If you want that detail, I suggest a documentary, The Power of Grayskull, which goes into this and pretty much in depth the history of the toy line itself. But today we're going to be concerned merely with the storyline. I'm going to start off with an introduction to let you know what was going on behind the storyline, but I'm going to be very brief. Mattel began development of He-Man and the Masters of the Universe in the late 1970s. The creation of He-Man began in 1976 when Mattel's CEO, Ray Wagner, declined a request to produce a toy line of action figures based on the characters from the George Lucas film Star Wars, with the film's toy rights being acquired by Kenner instead. Upon the commercial success of the Star Wars films and all related merchandise during the next few years, Mattel attempted to launch several unsuccessful toy lines. Enter Roger Sweet, who realized simplicity was the key to success. For a presentation to Mattel CEO Ray Wagner, Sweet created 3 rudimentary action figures, which were really big gem figures, packed with extra clay muscles. In Roger's concept, the character could be a generic hero, outfitted with science fiction, barbarian, or military costumes. The science fiction and military concepts were dropped to focus on the barbarian. Concept artist Mark Taylor was tasked with creating design concepts and character sketches for the various figures, while Mark Ellis began pitching the toy line to various retailers. During the first presentation of the toy line, one of the representatives from Child World questioned if they had any marketing programs beyond television advertising, to which Mark quickly responded, "Did I tell you about the He-Man comic we are doing?" With that said, they had to make good on the promise. Since Mattel had a relationship with Western Publishing Company, they were contacted and asked if they could get a writer to write the stories. Western editor Del Connell contacted writer Donald Glut and sent him to Mattel. Glut was given a few names and some Polaroid photos of the prototypes and set to work writing a simple storyline. Artist Alfredo Alcala was chosen to illustrate the stories. We begin our story with the very first booklet, He-Man and the Power Sword. Our story begins with He-Man. He is introduced to us as a barbarian who lived with an unnamed tribe in the jungles of Eternia. He-Man had decided to leave his tribe and venture out because he knew that evil forces were going to be attacking Castle Grayskull. Who the tribe is, we don't know, and how He-Man was with them, we don't know. We just know that he knew about Grayskull and that he had to leave to become the hero to protect the castle so that his tribe could live in peace forever. So that's where we begin the story. The outside world was a mystery to He-Man's tribe, although they had heard the legends of Castle Grayskull. And He-Man was the first of his tribe to venture out from the jungle. And as he was going along, he hears a cry for help, and he knows that he has to respond immediately. So what He-Man sees is this giant purple monster attacking this green lady. So he knows he has to respond. So let's see what happens next. So He-Man jumps off the cliff and he attacks the monster with his bare hands. But he looks over and he sees that he's not fighting it alone. The green lady is also shooting magic bolts at the creature. And He-Man says to himself, she's a sorceress. So this is our first introduction to the sorceress. Yes, she's green, but she's not referred to as the goddess at this point. She's just referred to as a sorceress. but apparently her magic hasn't phased the creature at this point. So apparently He-Man defeated the creature himself, and as the sorceress gathers her breath, she says that He-Man is the legendary hero who is to inherit these treasures that she's guarded for many, many years. It doesn't say how many years, but she does say that these things were made centuries before the Great Wars by Eternia's scientists. So this is the first mention of the Great Wars. We don't know what the war was, or how many there were, or what transpired in them, but just that Eternia's scientists had made all of these wonderful things before the Great Wars. And it says that we're inside of ancient ruins, although it looks more like a cave. And once again, the lady is referred to as the sorceress with a capital S. So this is not the goddess or the green goddess. This is just the sorceress. And she says that these are costumes and weapons. So we see He-Man's shield, axe, his harness, some boots, a sword, what looks like a spear, and the battle ram sky sled, and what looks like the battle chariot, which we'll see that in a minute when we are introduced to Man-at-Arms. And Sorceress tells him to use these weapons wisely in the defense of Castle Grayskull. So once again, Castle Grayskull is mentioned, and that He-Man is going to defend it. Next time we see He-Man on the next page, it says that he rides his vehicle, which is a combination of a battering ram, a catapult, and a space warp vehicle, although all we see is the sky sled. So he goes to a valley a few miles away from the castle, and he decides to make this his new home and headquarters. So here it says he's wearing a costume that gives him superhuman strength, and that he goes to work carving out his new home using just his fists. So while He-Man is constructing his house, we see Skeletor and Beast-Man, and they appear to be creeping on Teela here. And Teela is referred to as the warrior goddess, and we also take note that her name is T-La, Teela, and she's watering her unicorn, Charger. Now, some people think that the unicorn's name is Charger, but no, it's a charger. A type of horse is called a charger, and her unicorn is a charger. So, and then Beastman says, "There's none on Eternia as beautiful as she." And then he says, "I'm really starting to believe that she is a goddess." So this makes me think that Teela is not really a goddess, but she maybe is so beautiful that the inhabitants of Eternia think of her as a goddess, maybe. And then we see one of the plot points of the original storyline. Skeletor says she will be more than that. Soon she will be my bride. So Skeletor has sights upon Teela to make her his bride for some creepy reason. And so Skeletor and Beastman attack Teela. And now it's worth noting here, it says it's no simple matter to capture a warrior goddess. And she fights like a demon, with her body possessing the spirits of many ancestral champions. So Teela has a power. She possesses these spirits of ancestral champions that she's able to use their power to channel it. And Skeletor uses his energy blade. This is the first time it's mentioned, to freeze her horse, her unicorn, and also shock her unconscious. And notice that Beastman is all red in this, because Alcala was using the pictures that Mark Taylor had drawn of Beastman, where he was all red, but he was also wearing the armor that the released figure would wear, not the armor that he was wearing in those pictures. So it's a combination here. I'm not sure why Alcala chose to color him this way. And then Skeletor commands Beastman to carry her to Castle Grayskull, and he doesn't want her damaged. Ugh, more creep. Okay, so apparently it's nighttime now by the time Beastman and Skeletor bring her to Castle Grayskull, and here we see the imposing fortress for the first time. And it also tells us that this fortress is so ancient that no one knows what its origin is. And in these original stories, that's what it was presented as, an ancient fortress that no one knew who built it or why. And then we're introduced to the spirit of Grayskull, and an eerie voice that warns them to go back, and that these treasures are for no one to possess, and go away. And then we hear that there's another warrior watching from above, and he as Skeletor forces open the jaw bridge. So there is another warrior present here, but we don't know who he is at this time, and he's up there on the top of the defense tower next to the laser gun. We see his outline up there. Another thing worth noting is that Skeletor has a couple of other henchmen with him besides Beastman. Now we know that's Merman over there, but apparently that's Stratos as well. And that leads me to one of my speculations that enter into my toy play, is that Stratos was originally a bad guy. He was originally Skeletor's lackey, and he turned good and became a good guy and became a friend of He-Man for some reason, maybe perhaps because he got tired of Skeletor's abuse of him, perhaps, or he realized that what he was doing was wrong. Okay, so Skeletor enters the castle for the first time, and see that this is the entrance of the castle as you come in through the jaw bridge. Notice up here in the corner there's these two shields. I have those two shields in my castle that I made for myself, the Castle Grayskull that it's my custom design. And it's also worth noting, I don't know if you can see it, but there's a warrior that's departing there, and they don't notice him, and he's departing in a heavily armed chariot. So we know now that was a man at arms, but at this point in the story, we don't know who that is. And then of course Skeletor taunts the spirit of the castle, and he also says that he possesses a half of the power sword, which he has there in his hand. He also says that the spirit won't stop him from possessing the secrets, and he'll have the full power, and none of those traps will stop him. So he's just kind of taunting the spirit at this point as Beastman lumbers in carrying T-La in his arms. On the next page, here we get the first part of the play pattern presented, is that Skeletor says when he joins both halves of the power sword together, magic fires will created by the ancient science and sorcerers blaze again. And then he tells us his origin. He lived in another dimension, populated with others of his kind. But the Great Wars opened a hole in the dimension wall, and he was thrown into Eternia. And with the complete power sword, he can use that to reopen that hole and bring his own people in to conquer Eternia. And as you can see, his people look just like him. That looks like 4 Skeletors going in through that hole that's been opened up. And it's also worth noting that there beside his head, there's the scabbard for the power sword. That we've never seen the power sword in that scabbard. So here's Skeletor's origin, told in the original mini comic, that he was from another dimension, and that it's populated by other Skeletor-like creatures. And next, Skeletor and Beastman have strapped Tila to a stone slab somewhere there in the castle. And now that's worth noting, because there was some sort of device like this that was in the prototype castle that Mark Taylor created. And then it says that Beastman uses his animal-like cunning to find an ancient scroll that has a map on it. And also the map was drawn in blood. So this is kind of dark there for a little kid to read, I would suppose. But anyway, only Skeletor could understand the symbols on this map, and the map showed the way to the power sword, and it led to the secret door that was there in the castle. And that's also worth noting that there was a secret door in the prototype castle. So there we go. They're hunting that power sword with the map drawn in blood. So as He-Man is finishing up building his house, this chariot approaches, and we meet our next hero here, Man-at-Arms. And apparently He-Man knows who Man-at-Arms is. Man-at-Arms is apparently famous enough for the savage warrior He-Man to know who he is. He says, "What brings you to my humble house?" And apparently He-Man has sarcasm here. And Man-at-Arms is told that he belongs to a people who are masters of all arms. And Man-at-Arms tells him what happened. And he also says that if Skeletor controls the castle, he'll use those secrets to control the whole world, to conquer the world. And he also shudders to think what fate Skeletor has planned for the warrior goddess. More cringe there, thinking about what Skeletor wants Tila for. So Man-at-Arms offers to fight side by side with He-Man, and he tells He-Man that together they could easily defeat Skeletor and his henchmen. But He-Man is headstrong at this point, and he says, while you'll be a worthy partner, he has no time to waste getting to Grayskull on the battle chariot with Man-at-Arms. So he activates the space warp device in the battle realm and just vanishes to reappear somewhere else. So we're told that the Sky Sled not only is a Sky Sled, but it also has this space warp capability, so that it can appear and disappear from one place to another. So that's an interesting thing that was never used in the storyline except at this point here. And so next we see that Skeletor and Beastman have reached the end of the corridor and find a rusty metal door there, but touching the door causes the spirit of the castle to curse them and unleash these ghostly demons. Beastman's claws and fangs just go through the specters, but Skeletor uses his lightning blade, as it's referred to here, to quickly blast them away. And he also taunts the spirit of the castle once again, saying that he's defeated him once again, and now he wants to get past that door to seize the greatest treasure there. I assume that's the other half of the power sword that's on the other side of the door. So trying to get in, Beastman can't open the door. And of course, Skeletor berates him to stand back he uses his lightning blade on the door, and it just goes through it like butter. And as the door gave way, they could hear a commotion outside the castle. So Skeletor ordered Beastman to go see what it was, and Beastman lumbers away to see what's going on outside. So next we find out what is going on outside. Well, He-Man was using the battle ram as a battering ram to try to gain entry. And of course, Beastman's up here on top of the castle and shooting the lasers at him. But it also says He-Man has his force field garment on, which is repelling the blast. And that's another point in the storyline that a lot of people overlook, is that He-Man possesses more than one of these harnesses. One of them gives him great strength, and the other one generates a force field around him. So he's wearing his force field garment at this point. And of course, He-Man taunts Beastman and calls him a brainless gorilla, and tells him if that's the best you can do, then he has nothing to worry about. So that's what's going on here. Is He-Man's attacking the castle, and Beastman's trying to repel him with the laser guns. So here we find out that Beastman maybe isn't as stupid as we think he is. He realizes that the He-Man's force field only goes around He-Man. It doesn't extend to the battle ram itself. So he chooses another target. He hits the battle ram, which throws He-Man off, and that turns off his force field garment when he rolls off the vehicle. And now Beastman gets ready to finish him off with the lasers. So let's go to the next page and see what happens. Well, on the next page, we find out that Skeletor has found the object that he sought, the other half of the power sword. He finds it, and he puts the swords together, and then he begins to gloat and monologue about how he's invincible and nothing can stop him. So, and let's see what's going on next. Cut back to the outside battle. It looks like Man-at-Arms has arrived in the nick of time. That's either the battle chariot or the back half of the battle ram, but it has a flamethrower on it, and he uses the flamethrower to stop Beastman from hitting He-Man with the laser gun. And he tells He-Man he'll keep Beastman occupied. And then He-Man goes and he pulls the jaw bridge open using just his strength. And now he's running in to help Tila and stop the evil Skeletor. Well, He-Man throws off his damaged force field costume, which apparently also includes his boots and his belt and his bracers on his arms. So he's back to looking like the savage he was at the beginning of the book. And Skeletor uses his newfound power from the power sword to animate the weapons to attack He-Man. And of course, Skeletor is also boasting that this is only the beginning. But here we have the sorceress showing up with green energy glowing around her, which may explain why she's green. And of course, she accuses Skeletor of abusing the power sword, and she takes the power sword away from him and splits it back up again. And of course, everything that was attacking He-Man falls lifelessly to the floor. And then she vanishes after she splits the power sword back up. So without his power sword, Skeletor flees up to the roof of the castle, and where Beastman and Man-at-Arms are already fighting. Tila tears herself free of her bonds, and then He-Man and Tila go up to the roof as well. And it looks like He-Man put his shoes back on and put his belt back on, and has his harness back around his chest for some reason. And then they begin this rooftop battle. And then, of course, Beastman and Skeletor are outnumbered at this point, and so they plead for mercy, and the battle ends. And so Man-at-Arms and He-Man and Tila watch Skeletor and Beast-Man run away. And then they climb down from the roof of the castle, and the sorceress is there, and she says, and this brings up the next part of the play pattern. She says only the halves of the power sword inserted into the enchanted lock will open the castle's drawbridge from now on. So that means that now to get in the castle, you will have to use both halves of the power sword, and that's to keep them from the castle from falling into the wrong evil hands. And then she hides those halves in secret places. This particular book doesn't tell us where. And then she vanishes again in a green cloud. And this brings us to the end of this first storybook, He-Man and the Power Sword. We see the spirit of the castle in his for the first time in his classic skull form, formed out of the mists or the smoke coming from the castle, and he calls the heroes masters of the universe, and says that they're destined to protect the secrets of Grayskull from the evil. And he also rewards Tila by sending her unicorn back, and it says that the unicorn is Snow White, but in the picture it looks very yellow to me. Man-at-Arms ponders if we think that that's the last he'll see of Beastman and Skeletor, and of course He-Man doubts that. And they look towards the rising sun, and a good omen there for Eternia and the Masters of the Universe. And that concludes the very first storybook, He-Man and the Power Sword. Join me next time when we look at the King of Castle Grayskull in part 2. I hope you enjoyed it. And please go down into the comments and let me know what you thought of the story and how you reacted and you remember when you were a child. See you later. Special thanks to these supporters on Patreon. Without your help, these adventures would not be possible. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed today's adventure, please hit like and subscribe and share the video.